So, hello and welcome to a bit of a new feature that we're doing on NCARugby.com at the moment, where we have a chat with someone who is involved with the National Leagues or who has been involved with the National Leagues. And our first guest this week is very much someone who has been in the National League picture over the last couple of weeks or so, and it's Damian Welch, who has been recently appointed as Plymouth Albion's new head coach. So, Damian, welcome along. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. How's things?
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, as we just discussed, there's not much going on, so it's been a bit of a interesting bit of downtime. Obviously for all the wrong reasons, but it's at least we've had the weather. If we're going to look for positives.
Yeah, we mentioned in our emails, didn't we, Damien, about the weather and doing all the exercise we can, but rewarding ourselves with a couple of beers after.
Yeah, I think it's only fair. It's a good recovery strategy, and I think at the end of the day, we've got to get ourselves through the current situation somehow, haven't we? So I think that's kind of a lot of our go-to strategies at the moment, it seems to be.
Absolutely. So kind of onto the serious stuff and why we've asked you to come on today, Damian. And obviously your move to Plymouth was announced a couple of weeks ago, and I know you've done a couple of interviews with some of the local news outlets recently, but what was kind of the main drive for you stepping into the head coach hot seat at Plymouth Albion?
Obviously for me, I stopped playing professionally a couple of years back, and since then I've obviously been playing semi-professionally in Wales. Obviously couldn't let the game go or whatever, how you want to view it. But it got to the stage where kind of last season with Merthyr, it was a great club, fantastic people, great coaches who I was lucky to know from a younger age and stuff. So that was really nice to kind of almost finish off on that kind of tip. But just during the season, obviously being a 37-year-old player, I think Father Time, kind of put his arm around me and told me it was maybe time to start thinking about, moving on. There was always a question in the back of my mind about maybe doing another season, but it just seemed to me that, as a jump in second row, the kind of knees and the ankles were starting to be playing a bit more than they had been in the past. So I think it was, it was a way of kind of being told that maybe it was time to think of, moving on to pastures new. So, for myself, obviously when I was at the Chiefs, I got involved with the coaching setup at Exeter University with a few of the guys who were down there. With Keith Fleming, obviously the head of Rugby at Exeter University. Really enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it. I seem to have reasonable success there as well. Obviously, we went across to the Bucks final at Twickenham and won that. So it was a good experience. So I've always had positive kind of experiences with coaching. It's one of those things. It's been in the back of my mind for quite some time, but obviously we're still continuing playing, etc. It's never really been necessarily the right time, but for me, it just felt like it was the right time to kind of give away the playing side of the game. So I obviously started casting around in terms of coaching opportunities and where I could maybe look to get in. So luckily for me, I spoke to a few guys that I knew down at Exeter, and Rob Gibson and the academy down there just put me in touch with Plymouth, who were looking for a head coach. And just for myself, obviously, I got in touch with Max, the CEO. And after having talked with him, I spoke to Chris Bentley, who's a guy I knew from the Chiefs, and he's obviously down there in a kind of commercial role. And just generally the vision they laid out, where they want the club to go, what they see Plymouth's role in the community, and how where we can be as a club. It was just really exciting, really interesting. I just kind of like the idea. They almost had a vision of kind of starting a rugby club, not from scratch so much. Obviously, we know the history that Plymouth have got, but it's almost a chance to kind of reassess where we were as a club and maybe kind of establish a few kind of ground rules and foundations and stuff, and maybe push the club on from there. As a young coach. Going into your first role, that's a really exciting, interesting thing.
Yeah, and just to kind of pick on a couple of points you say there, Damien, obviously you've been playing in Wales at the moment, but you've made that move back to Devon, and you mentioned you have some great connections there. So was it kind of an easy choice for you to make the decision to go to Devon and go to Plymouth because of you knew the area, you knew kind of those links you had with Exeter Chiefs and Exeter University, etc.?
Yeah, I think that's obviously a key thing in terms of what will be helpful for me with the appointment. It's you definitely got an advantage if you're in an area that you know. I mean, I've got a good network of people. I've spoken to a lot of people down there from various clubs, not just Chiefs, but obviously I've got friends who are coaching other kind of championship and kind of comparable clubs down there as well. So it's been nice to have a network of people I can reach out to and have even an informal chat with. It doesn't have to be completely formal every time, but it is nice to have that kind of grounding down there. I know where all the places are. I know the guys to talk to, and it makes it easier in terms of even little things like a scouting network. It's a lot easier to pick people's brains and stuff if you already know them. So that has been helpful. I think it's obviously one of the things that did kind of attract me to the role. It's definitely an area that I've enjoyed living in the past. I've enjoyed working with the Chiefs, and very much a fan of the whole Devon southwest area. So it's been it's made it quite quite an attractive proposition.
And you mentioned sort of the Devon and southwest area just then, and when I've been reading Max's quotes, that there is this one club feel about Plymouth and sort of the direction that you guys want to go in. And I guess that was a really good selling point for you because you know how invested Exeter Chiefs can be in the region. So it sort of makes sense for you to go over to Plymouth Albion and try and harness that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me a little bit, because obviously I lived in Wales for quite a while, and it does remind me a little bit of that, in the fact that everyone seems to be a football fan second, but a rugby fan first. And for me, the Southwest has always been a real hotbed of rugby activity. And I live in Bristol, so for me, I know how huge Bristol rugby is. You can literally chuck a stone into Bristol Stadium from my back garden. So, we know what it's like down Southwest in terms of the rugby. And I think as you go deeper down into Southwest, I think if anything, it gets more and more passionate. All you've got to do is look at the comparable football clubs, and you'd have to say that rugby is the number one sport down there. And obviously, being with the history that Plymouth have got, that's a big thing for us. Even things, for example, the crowdfunding that we did for Plymouth, the response to that was huge. I think they made 3/4 of their target, a long time back, which just shows the level of support and the level of investment that people in Plymouth have got in the rugby side of things, which is something that we love, we want to tap into, and we're hoping to progress that as well.
Yeah, and that kind of when you talk about the crowdfunding there, Damian, and sort of how well it's been responded to by the community around Plymouth. And I know it's a club that has struggled in the last couple of years, but it's all about sort of strengthening that community to get behind Plymouth in terms of where the team want to go on the pitch, but as well as off it.
I think so. I mean, obviously, as I mentioned, it does feel a little bit like, we're building a club from the foundations up. I know it's obviously been there for some time, but I think the massive part of that is the fans. We want a place where they can be proud to come to, proud to watch the team, where the boys can be proud to run out and fund them, to be honest. And as I said, the crowdfunding thing just does give you a bit of a flavour of just how big the support down there is and can be. And it's one of those things we obviously we want to grow as much as we can. And I think the best way to grow the support is to do things in the right way. So what we're trying to do down at the moment, the guys in place down there, they're trying to put in all the right things in terms of not just on the pitch but off the pitch as well. And hopefully that's the kind of thing that will kind of stand us in good stead. It'll help us engage with the city, and go from there really.
And Max has mentioned as well, Damian, in some of the interviews he's done recently, that this is a club that is targeting the championship. And I guess Plymouth is a number of clubs, the national one, who are targeting the championship. But one of the other key points he was talking about is it's about the bigger picture as well. It's not about just bringing all these players in and trying to get 25 wins from 30 games to get yourselves promoted or whatever. It's all about sort of making these players come to Plymouth Albion, enjoying the rugby, but also helping their careers as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm an ambitious guy. Max is an ambitious guy. We all want to be playing championship rugby. That's where we see ourselves. We see ourselves being one of the biggest clubs in the championship. But obviously, we know that to get there, we've got to put the horse in front of the cart, do the right things. And one of those right things is obviously getting the right people in terms of playing staff. And I've had a couple of chats with a couple of prospective players, and just kind of impressed on them that what we're trying to do. And they've got a good chance to be at the ground floor or something, which we're hoping is going to be quite big over the next 2-3 seasons. So, that's the way I see it. It's obviously we've got our goals, we know where we want to be, but for us, I think it's just as important to get there in the right ways, and that's not, that doesn't involve just chucking money at it. I mean, we've got to make Plymouth a club that people want to come to and they want to stay at as well. We don't want someone who's going to come there for a single season, purely with a view of if I play enough minutes, I can go and play championship rugby. We've got no problem at all with guys being ambitious and wanting to play championship rugby. I've had my professional career. I would never stand in the way of someone who wants to do the same thing. But we also want to encourage Plymouth men. So we want to get people who want to come down, engage with the town, engage with the club, and kind of realise that it's not always a case that you have to go to a rugby club as a stepping stone to somewhere else. You can go to a rugby club to have a long career, an enjoyable career. And that's the kind of thing we're trying to facilitate. So we're trying to put things in place off pitch as well. Not just your nutrition, your kind of medical insurance, that kind of stuff. We're trying to put things in as well where, some of these guys who come down, we can help them get jobs in the local community in areas they want to look at, jobs, not just literally, shoehorn them behind the bar or something. We're going to try and actually engage with local businesses to get these guys, good careers. So they can play rugby as a career and they can have themselves an off-field career as well. And then obviously the two mesh, we'll hopefully find that they stay at Plymouth for a long time.
Definitely, and kind of part of that holistic approach, Damian, as well is, and added to that professionalism side of things, is over the last couple of years, I know Gareth Stevenson's been involved, and we spoke to Harry Williams early in the lockdown period, and he said he thoroughly enjoyed his time coaching with Plymouth Albion. I'm not sure where they stand at the moment in joining you in the coaching staff, but has it been great as well to see other Exeter Chiefs players been involved with the club?
Yeah, it's obviously key for guys like myself, for example. Young coaches need opportunities to coach. And we're very fortunate to have those guys come down. Harry Williams is coming back this year.
Great.
I spoke to him about a week or so ago, and he was extremely enthusiastic. As anyone who knows Harry, would be quite surprised. But yeah, he was keen. So I've heard nothing but good stuff from the lads, from James Skye's book. I had a chat with him, and they couldn't praise Harry's involvement last year highly enough. And just from what I've heard, for example, he was in contact with the front row while he was away at the World Cup, which just speaks to the caliber of the man's character, which is what we're trying to foster, what we're after. In terms of Steno, we're not sure yet what's going on with him. I think obviously his situation depends on Chiefs. I think he's obviously a different career stage to where Harry is, so for Harry it's a lot more straightforward. But as we go along, we'll kind of cross that bridge when we come to it, and go from there really with him. But yeah, just from us, obviously we've got that good relationship with the Chiefs. We've got the academy kids that come down, who by all accounts are a massive part of the club. I've heard some impressive stories of their kind of training ethic and stuff. So it's one of those things which as much as we can help facilitate their careers, they can help us, vice versa, and it works both ways really. So it's something that we're keen to keep going.
And just on what you said there, Damon, you said you've been talking to James Skysbrook as well about some of the plans that have been in place, and you've used the term quite recently of not reinventing the wheel, and James's impact didn't go unnoticed in terms of the second half of the season before the campaign was curtailed due to COVID-19. So did you speak to him as well about sort of where this team was and how you can take it forward, or have you got kind of a clean slate now? Yeah,
no, we had a couple hours chat. Skye and I, we were friends for years anyway, so it was kind of semi catch up, semi beer, and semi rugby talk. So we covered all the bases really. But so what he gave me was his impression of the playing squad, of where things were, which to be honest, I haven't watched the footage, kind of marries with the kind of ideas that I had anyway. He just almost let me know where he got to essentially, because as you say, he did grab the club by the scruff of the neck, and I think he did a good job in that small time he had. So for me, I think it would be daft to just walk in and just say, right, well, do you know what, I'm the new coach. Obviously, I'll have ideas that will be different to Skye's, but I think on the whole, there's no point, chucking the baby out of the bathwater. Obviously Skye's has moved on, but there's no reason why we should just completely trash all of his, all the stuff he's put in place. That makes no sense to me at all. I think, a lot of it is going to be good stuff that we're going to keep continuing. So hopefully it's just the kind of thing we can build on, rather than get rid of it. I don't think there's any need to get rid of any of it really.
Yeah, and it was quite nice to hear you talk about the university game before and your involvement with Exeter. On Talking Rugby Union on NCA Rugby, we've got a massive passion for the university game, and you mentioned you worked with Hayden before, but I guess as well when you were playing the game, Damien, you worked with so many great coaches, Rob McBride, Rob Baxter, etc. So have you been able to learn anything off those guys and taking it into your early days with Plymouth, or is it just a culmination of everything you've been able to learn during your playing days?
I think so. Yeah, a bit of everything really. I mean, obviously there would be some stuff. For example, I had Sean Edwards at Cardiff Blues, so he was obviously one of the world's greatest defence coaches. Rob himself is no mean defence coach, and he was doing the job while I was at Chiefs, so that's going to be key as well. But I think I've been quite lucky in my career to moved around a few clubs, not too many, but enough that I've got a good selection of coaching ideas and philosophies and different techniques and ways of doing things to draw from. Obviously the way that Chiefs do things was fantastic. In my opinion, their attention to detail and just the sheer passion and the kind of non-stop striving to get better is one of the things that I think is absolutely crucial to any rugby team and any rugby coach. And I think that they embody that in spades. There's guys down there who are top of their game, and they were top of their game when I was at Chiefs. So it's the kind of thing where there's obviously going to be bits and pieces that I'm going to cherry pick from each coach that I've played under, and for me that's a massively positive thing. It's the kind of thing where you can't just try and use all your own ideas. It's key to have your own ideas and your own way of doing things, but when you've played under such illustrious coaches, I think you'd be daft not to kind of use that to your advantage.
And before you mentioned as well, Damian, about kind of you being very ambitious as a person, and I guess when you've played for Exeter and you've been part of a side that's won the Premiership, and you've been over with Cardiff Blues, who've been successful in Europe, coming to Plymouth, who do sort of share the ambition of trying to achieve the best, that must really help you as well as a coach, that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that kind of struck me from the kind of first interview, or even the first informal chat that I had with Max about the club, is the fact that there is ambition, there is drive. And there's a thirst for success down there. There's it's the thirst in the right way. We want to be successful, across the board, really, which is something that's key. I mean, what better situation for a young coach to go into a club who basically say, more to a large degree, here's the reins. Let's see what we can get to it, with it, which is just fantastic. It's the kind of thing. Me being the competitive kind of guy that I am, I think I would struggle if it was any different. And having been down the club and spoken to the guys in charge and what have you, I think the good news is that everyone's pulling in the same direction. And I think that's going to really stand us in good stead. And there's a real drive to actually kind of almost, I think that the guys have been calling the slogan "Make Albion Great Again," obviously, because there is that real hunger to kind of push ourselves back up to where we kind of feel we should be, which is top half, top six of the championship. So I kind of see them as a bit of a sleeping giant. I think we can do a lot of good stuff, but it's obviously going to be hard work, but it'll be enjoyable as well. I think if we can get ourselves pushing in the right direction, I think it's going to be successful.
And it's a difficult time at the moment with us all been, abiding by the government guidelines, Damian, and staying indoors. But have you managed at all to maybe speak to the players or made, any sort of headway in terms of planning for next season, or is it just kind of wait and see at the moment and see how things go?
I mean, in terms of planning, I've done plenty because obviously there's not been a great deal else to do. I've been coming through past games, planning pre-season, because the good thing with that obviously is that when we know our start date is, we can pretty much just map the pre-season onto date. So that's been fairly straightforward. In terms of interaction with players, I've spoken to a few of the senior players and just had a general chat with a couple more. We've got a kind of WhatsApp group on the go just to kind of give some boys a few updates, that kind of thing. I know our S&C guy is kind of put them on notice that things are about to kick off again, which for the first time in my career doesn't actually bother me in the slightest, because I'm not the one who has to do it anymore. So he can be as brutal as he likes with them, as far as I'm concerned. So things are starting to come together a bit. It's just obviously it's frustrating. No more so for myself and the players, because from what I can gauge from speaking to the guys, I'm not the only one who wants to kind of get back to it. One of the things that all the players keep saying to me is they just can't wait to get started, which is the attitude that we want. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're going to be successful, because at the end of the day, it's the players that are going to have to do it. The players are going to have to put us up to the championship, and I think there's a real appetite amongst them to do that. So in some ways, I'm hoping we can kind of use this frustration of being kind of cooped up and waiting for the kind of go to start us off, and we can maybe use that and start with a bang.
Absolutely, Damian, and hopefully we do get to see rugby in the National Leagues back sooner rather than later. And just one final thing from me, and I think many Plymouth fans may also have a bit of a soft spot for Exeter Chiefs, so they won't forgive me if I didn't ask you about your time with the club. And I know a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even a week and a half ago, the club sort of looked back on that first Premiership trophy. They want to know you were part of the squad that helped them get to Twickenham and obviously lift that trophy in an extraordinary final. I mean, how much fondness do you look back at that moment and at your time at Exeter?
Oh, massively. I think I think I said when I left, the way I feel about rugby is that I think every rugby player has always got the one club that they can point to, they can hang their hat on and say that was my career. That's the club I identify with the most. And for me, that was Chiefs. I never felt so comfortable in a club. I never had just the sheer atmosphere around the place. In terms of everything, the guys were fantastic. Everyone was so close, so tight. Coaching staff were fantastic, and there was a great rapport between the playing staff, coaching staff, and everyone else. It was just a really special place to be. No more so than at that time when obviously we challenged for the Premiership and falling short the last hurdle, and then the year after to go ahead and actually take one. Just fantastic times. It's got great memories for me, and it still makes the hair stand on the back of your neck when you think about it. Sometimes, no more so than watching the videos back and hearing the guys commentate on it, and just what they all achieve, to be honest. And it's just one of those things with Exeter. I used to quite enjoy, when you finish training, you go to the supermarket, for example, you're walking around, it would take you an extra 10 minutes because I always want to stop and talk rugby. And it would never be anything. It would never be vicious. It would never be kind of, like sometimes in Welsh situations, should we say, fans can be a little bit more kind of aggressive. I never experienced anything but fantastic, approach to just rugby life than I got with the fans at Exeter. So for me it was a fantastic time. I just wish we could do it again. That's the only downside, I suppose.
Well, hopefully you can achieve some similar success with Plymouth Damian when the action hopefully returns soon. But many thanks for joining us on the NCA Rugby Chat today. Really appreciate your time. And we're hopefully going to be doing more of these during the lockdown period. But many thanks to Damian again. And that's been an NCA Rugby Chat.
No problem. Thank you.